Hooray, hooray. One man come from far, far, far. Hooray, hooray.
All we have is we Kambule, we ritual, we sweet love, we living in poverty and hate. I want to say for Gypsy, Vincent Gypsy Peters, when he was minister, he tried to outlaw the bringing of costumes from China. Mm-hmm. And you pay them $3,000 or $4,000 in some account in the States or somewhere, and you get here your little costume in a little envelope.
Box, comes in a box. It comes in a box.
You know.
Oh yeah, it comes in a box. It comes in a box.
And that man, they nearly run him out of town.
I know.
There was such a hullabaloo, but the man was right.
So it used to be, and hopefully at one point it will return to that original space and whatnot. But we are now in what we call post-Ponderosa times, aka post-COVID times. And there's a new iteration. Last year I was privileged enough to be a part of the beginnings of a full film / docudrama of the Kambule. We didn't get the full funding, so if you have anybody out there who wants to give me the rest of the sponsorship, that'd be great. But I was privileged enough to be a part of that. So there was that iteration last year. And this year, you all are doing a full run of shows that starts Carnival Week, which is next week Wednesday. Well, you all are starting next week Wednesday. That's your opening night. So tell me how it's running.
So we have the 5 a.m. show at the Savannah for the Taste of Carnival.
Right.
And then we have the Friday night, we have another show. So for people who don't want to get up 5 o'clock in the morning, to reach the Savannah, you can come to Napa Car Park and see the show at 7:30 p.m.
Right.
On Saturday, we have workshops all day, looking at different elements of the productions. The drumming, the singing, the chants, the fire breathing, etc., right? So that happens on Saturday. And then on Sunday night, into Jubilee morning, we will have our last performance of the show, right?
So we opening on the Friday morning then?
Yes.
We opening on the Friday morning?
Opening on the Friday morning in the Savannah.
So this is pod business? This is pod type business or grandstand type business?
It's grandstand type business.
Grandstand, so
we know nothing about no pod.
Yeah, this is not a pod experience.
You need to know about the pod because I wonder about the balance in the financing between the money that goes on the infrastructure and what the artists get. So,
you heard it here. Because we've been wondering about that out loud as well.
Well, I wonder.
We've been wondering about that out loud. But this production is going to be facing the grandstand. So the pods are not involved. Right? So starting 4 a.m. Friday morning. Friday morning, I will be there. In some capacity. Me know how, but I get to
You'll be the hostess with the mostest.
The hostess with the mostest. The Javettes with the mostest.
Can't take cutlass something else.
Yeah. I'm working with my bois, I'm working with my tree line. Listen, Friday morning, before I come back into this space to do what we do every morning for Carnival.
To the plantation.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. She went there. Hi, Tony Chow. So we started Friday morning, 5 a.m. Then we have another show Friday evening. I can't catch yourself. Then we have workshops all day Saturday, and then a finale show on Sunday. So it's 3 shows in total and a day of workshops. Yes? You want to give me a pricing where people can access tickets and all of that?
Tickets will be available at Napa Box Office. We will try and put some digital thing in place by next week. We're talking to our providers.
Right.
To organize. so you can get at Napa Box Office. It's a safe zone, so of course you have to make sure that you work with
vaccinated,
your vaccine card and your ID.
And Talman and them would want you to be vaccinated because quite frankly, you have to be alive to be able to fight in the revolution. So could you please go get your vaccine so you can go do things? Yes? So we know when it happens this year. Great. Ms. Eintou, your vision for Kambule moving forward in terms of the production as it is right now, in terms of the making sure that the memory stays alive or is reignited for those who have no clue?
Well, the children of Kambule have a very big role to play. Till I will tell you that sometimes this get vexed with me. Because every rehearsal, I just talk and talk and talk, explain the chants, explain all the nuances, all the references to the spirituality, explain. Make it very clear that you're not coming to Zante yourself on a stage. That your being part of this is an acknowledgement that you used to do the work to carry this on.
Yeah.
You know, it is a privilege that you are part of this, and the exchange is you do the work because now you have the knowledge. I will tell you, and I have experienced Kambule as a powerful force of transformation of people. People come in one way and leave another way. At the end of the production, the children was stiff, calling one another black and ugly. Yes, that will still happen by the end of the time. And you just change. And if you want to change, you just make sure you leave the production one way or the other. One way or the other. So it's a serious thing. For me, I feel blessed that I was put in a space to do this work. You know, I feel that this is what I was put here to do. As a young librarian, 19 years old, and I went into the Central Library. One of the white clients came into the library. I was by the desk, cough in my face, and I coughed back in the face. And for that, they banished me and put me in a little room
In the back.
where was the Caribbean collection, a tiny little room. And that's where my ancestors wanted me to do. Oh, and they said I didn't have desperate sons.
What that mean?
I was too black.
Okay.
So I go in the people little room there, and I teach in the books. Every night I'm going home and reading. I'm bringing them back next day and swear Ursula Raymond Afro mother. And no why I do it. Until one day she wrestled in me. She says, since you have been reading so widely the collection, I need you to go on television to talk about the contents of it.
Wow.
You know, I was 19. I swear they didn't know. I mean, and it's the importance of mentorship that I try to do with this young one. And inside of there, in 1956, Caribbean Quarterly had brought out this wonderful volume, I think it's volume 4, number 3, 1956, which was devoted to the Carnival, and in which has the most wonderful accounts of the Carnival of the 1880s. So it was in that space that I first had a sense of what the Carnival was, and that linked with my own memory because I come from Santa Cruz and I have Warao roots. We have Warao roots, and my father used to play the Warao Mass with the
ship on the head.
With the ship on the head, you know. And they would come from with you know, from Santa Cruz to San Juan. With that, so I grew up knowing that. at the end of Bass Street where I was born, behind the rum shop and the club. It had a Gael. My uncle
As a sick man.
used to do that. My aunt used to complain about how she had to be folding up all these small pieces of ribbon to pin onto his candle. I don't know if you the name Theodore Roosevelt Guerra, one of our great, now you're too young for that, criminal lawyers. That was his father. He used to play stick, you know. And so all these things made sense of where I come out, you know, and all the pieces where I say, oh. And my grandfather, the Garifuna man, used to sing a song for me that come out of the plantation. So all them things started
Makes sense.
in my head, and of course, then 1969 arrived, and I'm in England being part of the Black Panthers, come back home in time for the Black Power Revolution, and all them things making sense because this is resistance. This is resistance.
Pine toppers.
Pine toppers, exactly. Juve morning. Thanks for that child. Juve morning 1970. Anybody who was watching the mass would have known it would have fire.
That something was coming. If you was paying attention.
It was a preparation.
Here now, we play Africa before, then and now. And in the now, we have Malcolm X, Che Guevara, and only drum. No tourists enjoying that one.
The tourist said, yeah, we'll pass on this one. Maybe not this one.
I just wanted to clarify some dates. So 1838 was when they started to do like Kambule, right? So that was when emancipation was declared.
Right.
So they would do a 3-day celebration, right? So by 1841, they cut down the celebration from 3 days to 2 days.
Oh,
right?
so Carnival was 3 days?
Yeah.
No, emancipation. Emancipation
Carnival, same thing.
Emancipation celebration with the Kambule
Right.
was 3 days. Then in 1841, they said 2 days. So they cut down 1 day. And then in 1844, they introduced the thing about you can't wear a mask.
No mask can be worn except on the 2 days agreed
Right.
upon.
Look,
So you could not be masked except
Of course, we put that in
during
the
Carnival. Right? And then in 1849, Ordinance 6, they banned Kambule from taking part in emancipation time.
Wow.
And then they said as a concession that the Africans who were doing their Kambule could have the pre-dawn hours of Carnival Monday. That was when they were allowed to do their juve, right? That's how it happened.
And in that Juve time, they used to bring out all the folklore characters.
Right.
All the sukuya, all the lava.
So you know you know where the term juve comes from. Juve means the dawn, right? But the exclamation juve, upaka juve, comes from the sukuya coming back to her skin and trying to figure out
why
if it's dawn or if it's not dawn.
Oh, because she
Juve,
can't put back
upaka
on.
juve.
Opaka Juve.
Juve,
You know?
upaka juve. That is where the term juve in that sense comes from. Because it was this time when people could celebrate all the things about their mythology, about their culture. And the whole thing about that darkest hour before dawn, when there's so much spiritual energy around. If you are a priest or if you are studying, yeah, it's a very special time. Spiritually, historically, all of those things. I mean, that's why I also have like Jambalasi comes out of that particular time. Jambalasi is a character that comes out of Molasses Devil, right?
That's right.
Right? So, and that represents the enslaved person who would have fallen into a vat of molasses, right? Or also lost a limb or lost an arm or lost a,
or dead,
or
just
dead,
falling full.
During enslavement working in these machines.
And you have people who love playing jab now, love a jab.
They love a jab, but they don't know
idea where jab come from. No idea where jab come from. That way of playing. Jab is serious business.
It's an ancestral mass.
It's ancestral mass.
And that's why people go into a trance. Many times they see people in a trance in playing jab and they don't understand why. But it's ancestral mass.
But we're scared of that word, eh?
Yeah, of course.
Ancestor. We're scared of that word. And
what
it means for us.
Yeah.
How you go afraid your own self?
Yeah. Well, that is what we were taught to do. We're afraid we own hair, the color of we skin, we ancestors, the food we just eat, everything. And that is the pathology of enslavement that we have never dealt with. That is why we could have Kwame Tura House on Oxford Street. That is why we could still have Columbus there. That is why we could have so much thing named for Picton. Picton, that dog.
Dog is like
sacred to Right, but that evil man, that l'homme mauvais, they drag him down from everything in Scotland.
And we still have him.
And we still have him.
And arguing to keep him. To keep
him
in Columbus.
Just imagine, it have a whole place up in Laventille called Picton.
Wow.
Energetically, what is that doing to the people of that
space
community?
Because name is very important.
Of course.
Picton Street in Newtown. What is Picton Street known for?
You see, and this is about making the connections. We have to start making the connections. That's why these conversations are so important. And that's why I'm so glad Lady Hype say, Miss Eintou, we need to talk to she. Bring she. Because, the jump up and everything real nice. We having the best time on a morning. We jump up nice. But we also have to do more of this so that we know why we're jumping up. You don't know why we're jumping up.
The jump up important.
The jump up real important. The jump up sweet.
This is what we forget. That the whole claiming of joy, especially for bodies that look like ours, is always a slap in the face and a threat to people who do not want us to be happy.
Yeah.
People who are institutionalizing ways for us to not be happy. And also policing our bodies to the extent that our bodies are policed. And so joy is part of the work that we have to do. We have to claim our joy all the time to remind us that we didn't just come here to walk and dance.
We fight.
And we fight for this.
That's
we fight for this. We didn't come here to walk and dead.
Yeah.
We also found time for joy. And we fought for the right for us to have joy.
That's what we talk about.
That's the most important thing.
And this is why I call myself a millennial Jamet. People say, how you will call yourself a Jamet? Because I am. Because I am. And I make a point of whining as hard as I could possibly whine inside of the concert series for a reason. Because joy is important. Because the agency of your body is important. And
yes, and opening your sacral chakra is good for releasing inhibition.
Indeed.
I'm just getting into the yoga there.
There we go.
So you understand in that discourse, right? That learned discourse.
Yes.
That the future of Kambule is safe.
It is quite safe.
I just wanted to say that one of the things that we are introducing this year is our Kambule Performing Arts Company, which is going to be focused on you're there. You'll be teaching some
teaching things. Okay, well I didn't know. So there we go. Yes,
you'll be there. But one of the things that we realize is that every year we get a new crop of young people who come into the production, and for us, it's not just about knowing the history. It's also about knowing the difference between Dame Lorraine and Abeo. Nari Apru, who just died very recently, he used to say that every character, every form of masquerade has its own dance. And then he used to say, it's only job supposed to whine. It's only job supposed to whine, but now all mass whining. And his thing was, there is a particular, imp is a ballet dancer, and a dragon is a different kind of, it's a totally different type of dance.
The dragon represents conflict and fusion between different natural energies. I mean, how he dingulate himself to cross the water.
All those things.
That synergy between earth and water, two of the prime elements, and the dragon dingulate in between. I mean, we don't
see. We just jumped up this morning to Nyla singing, "Come let we dingole for me now," and we hear the word, but we don't know how it resonates within our actual traditions and what it actually means. You understand? And that, again, that's why these conversations are important.
But also the fact that we create language all the time, dingole, that's a catchword, the interest, one of the things that interests people in Kambule is the use of the patois, which was a language that was effectively banned and destroyed, referred to as
langage cochon.
Hog language. Hog language is only hog to stop that, So the old people didn't teach it to you.
And it wasn't being taught in schools, so a language just died.
It died.
It just died.
I'm so upset that I
don't
speak
her grandfather, my great-grandfather, who came from St. Vincent, English was not his best language. He spoke Bhojpuri, he spoke Creole, he spoke Spanish, and he was laughed at because he didn't speak English like the Queen.
Let me tell you a joke about Papa. When Papa going to church and he's singing, and he had a voice, a deep, rich, wonderful voice that seemed to come from below the soles of his feet. And I'm trying to remember the name of the hymn.
Mira da to be.
Yes. he taught the grandchildren, teaching them the same. Nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer, my God, to thee.
Nearer, my God, to thee.
Nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer to thee. So my cousin Leslie going to catechism. Any of all you know to sing a hymn? Mr. Leslie put up his hand. What is he sing for us? Nearer, my God. Thankfully, the catechism teacher didn't buff him or laugh at him. So the next week when they go in catechism class, now teacher say, "Now children, I'm going to teach you all a hymn." And
teach you my God to thee.
That was Papa.
These are the beautiful stories. These are the things that we need to chronicle, man.
And this is the other thing about Kambule for us, that when we are in the production, we get people to start talking. Many times in the production, we've had people come in and say to their parents, "Yeah, well, I'm Kambule and thing," and then all of a sudden they get a story about they had an uncle and thing, and who killed a man, and these stories get lost because of shame, because we think that our cultural forms have no value, and also because there's so many ways that Trinbagonians express cultural talent, or so you might do something for 3 years and then you forget about it, right? And that's a whole 3 years of your life that you never communicate about to your children or to your grandchildren or whoever. And then all of a sudden, a whole story is gone. And those stories never make it into history books. But this is the history that is important.
Yeah.
In the same way that Kambule, if we only had the newspapers to go by, we would only think that Kambule was obscenity, barbarism, although there were a couple people who were writing in the papers who were on the side of the people. If you look at the newspaper reports at the time, they were very, very disparaging.
Very barbarous.
Yeah.
Licentious and all them things.
Yes.
Yeah. So, if you listen to that, but just think about the people who would have been writing in the papers at that time.
Exactly.
Who would have owned people just a few years ago. Now you, who owning people a few years ago, decided on if these people who you had to figure in your mind were not quite human, how they could have culture.
Yeah.
How culture is something that they have access to.
Yeah.
You know, how could they have something that's sophisticated, that have physics and
barbarous.
chemistry and you know, algebra and tech? It have nothing like that. Those things are not accessible to these people.
Right.
You know, so it has to be barbarous. It has to be savage because you think that these people are savage.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Plenty to talk about. Last year, you make me learn a song, and I wanted to sing the song. Only when I went to Miss Eintou rehearsal last year, right? Man, I ready to Santi Manite. When I sang my thing, they tell me it was wrong. The whole tune was off. She said absolutely not. It took me about 4 or 5 rehearsals before she was satisfied. And then finally, when we shot it, she said, right, that is it. I've never felt so good in my life. Do ask me to sing it right this particular minute, because if I don't sing it right, she will be very disappointed.
You want me to give you the words?
No, thanks.
Let me tell you about Baker.
I want you to sing it.
Let me tell you about Baker. What was the next
He's
one?
a real bad police.
He's a real bad police here. He come from quite England to say we Kambule band. But he in for a big surprise, mister. You and your boys ain't so wise. Because for we ride, we well intensified.
Santi Manite.
All they say are pretty. But pretty don't give me no money. It's double pressure for me. From both man and the society. It's one thing they just want from me. Barricade man don't take responsibility. But it's blood and sand anytime they tackle me.
Santi Manite.
Hey.
This is so beautiful.
Thank you so much. This is such an honor. This is such an honor, and I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation. I will be at Kambule. I technically don't have a choice. She will never forgive me. But I want to be at Kambule, and I'm hoping that this conversation does something, tickles something inside of you for you to want to go and experience a Kambule as well. Yeah, so it starts next week, Friday, 5 o'clock in the morning, Grandstand, Queen's Park, Savannah. Then they have another performance Friday evening if you can't really wake up for the 5 o'clock in the morning. Then we have workshops all day Saturday, and then a grand finale performance Sunday night that may or may not lead into something resembling something Juve-esque. Esque-ish. But you didn't hear that here. Right? It's the Ojo Carnival Zone. I think we plan to call this like the traditional zone. Maybe that's what we'll call it. It's a nice start to that. Thank you, Miss Eintou. Thank you. And tell her, I'm a sister.
Okay. Gotcha.
Thank you, guys.
In the junction tonight. Up in Dalparo. In the junction tonight. Them women go know. In the junction tonight. They coming from all about. In the junction tonight. They coming from north and south. In the junction tonight. Who can play the play? In the junction tonight.